Thank you. So let's ask share the screen. The problem. So if you, Professor Dr. Hussein Sadri, I think you can share your screen.
Not yet, not yet.
Multiple participants can simultaneously. Thank you for our.
Okay, now I could. Now I could. Yeah, I see that still people are joining, and
We shall wait 2 more minutes.
yeah, I know that we have lack of time as well. So if you don't mind, I will start. So again, thank you for this opportunity. I will try to keep my talk short, so I will arrange my timer as well. Academics like to talk a lot, so this is the way that we gain our money. So I will try to stop on time. What I'm going to talk is a bit of provocative talk about why sustainable strategies are not enough, and what we have to do actually now. And just to introduce the topic, I put this slide here. This is the amount of carbon particles in the atmosphere. So you can see in the last 400 million years how it has changed. And also you can see that how in the past almost 1 million year, and mainly in the past after the ice age, how it was more stable and under this 400 parts per million. And as you can see here, this part that still it's blue, and the color is changing. This is 1970s. So this is the first slide that I wanted to show. So now today we are in around 412, 413 particles. So the second slide that I wanted to show, again to emphasize about 1970s, is this living planet index that is measuring actually the decline in the wildlife population. And as you can see here, our 1970 is the time that we accepted this as 100% living index, but now we are below 25, 30. The third slide that I want to show is about the amount of resources that we use from the planet Earth and the Earth overshooting day. So if you look at 1970s, it's almost January 1, the Earth overshoot day, which shows that we use one planet Earth. So the planet Earth in 1970s is enough for our life. But as you can see today in 2021, we are over 1.7 Earth, and the Earth shooting day is arriving towards July. So that means that Earth overshoot day becomes in July. So that means that all the resources that in 2021 planet Earth could produce, we consumed all of them until July. So the rest of the year, we are consuming the resources of future generations. So these three slides then that emphasize on 1970s, it shows us a strategy that was introduced mainly in 1970s about sustainability. Because in 1970s, when we were using one planet Earth, and one planet Earth was enough for us, sustainability was meaningful. So that means that we would sustainably use one planet Earth. When in 1970s we had living planet index in 100%, sustainability was meaningful. to sustain the way that we were living. In 1970s, still we had more horizontal line of change in the carbon particles in the atmosphere, and it was really meaningful to sustain it. But we need now we are not in that condition. So what we have to do is the introduction of regenerative strategies. So here in this graphics, you see that the degenerative strategies in the bottom and the regenerative strategies in the top are differed from each other. So sustainable is almost close to zero. So to sustain the existing condition, but we need to have more positive impacts and to restore the ecosystems that we destroyed, to try to regenerate life on the planet, because loads of animals are extincted, loads of plants are extincted. We had a great amount of deforestation, great amount of desertification, and the life on the ocean, the life on the land is dying and is dead. So what we need to do, we need to regenerate life. We need to increase biodiversity and all of this. And these are not possible just by taking sustainable strategies. I just want to give you an example how the life in any ecosystem works. So in any ecosystem, we have a carrying capacity, and any species that lives in any ecosystem, they face a slow growth at the beginning, and then a fast growth, and then towards the carrying capacity, the growth slows down and again comes to a very flat flat movement that we call it a stable equilibrium. So this growth is not only the growth of population, but it is the growth of population and needs, the population and the way that they consume. Because one frog never consumes more than one frog. So it is not really meaningful in frogs or in any ecological life other than human beings, because probably human being is the only one human being can consume 10 or 100 times more than other human beings. So if we look at this, we don't have this in this graphic in our planet Earth and human population plus need conditions. What we have in human conditions is, if this is the planet Earth's capacity, we are in 1.7 now in 2021, and this is a very dangerous condition that we have. We are going towards a big collapse, and either having more ecological solutions and more green solutions to reduce this speed, to grow slowly as it is planned in many of global north countries, or have low impact carbon or zero carbon or zero ecological footprint strategies are not really enough. So what we need to do, of course, we need to reduce our consumption. We need to change our lifestyle. We need to reduce our dependency to the fossil fuels and all the fossil resources, and create more kind of self-sufficient life, depending on only the resources that one planet Earth can produce every year. And change the Earth overshoot day again towards the 1st of January. But this is not enough. What we need to do is we need to increase the capacity of planet Earth, as it was increased in the past millions of years after the introduction of life to the planet Earth. So for that reason, I just listed some of the main strategies that we need to really aim. So yes, these are now well discussed in the world of architecture and urbanism. Okay, carbon positive, water positive issues that our cities or buildings can create more carbon. than they use it. But also, more importantly, soil positive, because soil is dying on this planet, and we have a great amount of erosion. And also, increasing the biodiversity and flourishing the biodiversity is very important. But also, I just want to underline that this consumption of people as 1.7 is not, of course, all the people living on the planet. As just 2 days ago was announced by one research, only 20 companies produce 50% of amount of plastic that is released in the planet. So that means that, you know, the small percentage of people are really consuming all these resources. And we need to move towards more egalitarian systems, because while some people eat 10 times or 100 times more than the others or consume, there are some people still dying from hunger. In every seconds, we are losing children from the hunger. So one of the main strategies that is introduced is restoring the ecosystems, and this is probably what we need to aim. But is this enough? Of course, it is not. When we look at the different statistics, we just realize that how human beings became dangerous to the life of this planet. Biodiversity is one of the most important values that creates life, regenerates life in this planet, and creates resilience of life on the planet. But what we are just destroying the biodiversity. This is the number of mammals living in this planet. And as you can see here, 34% of all mammals on the planet are human beings, and 62% of them are the pets or livestock that human beings are just taking care of them. So altogether, it is 96% of all mammals on this planet are humans, or mammals belong to humans. And only 4% of the mammals on the planet remain wild. And this is really alarming condition. One of the main things that maybe in architecture and urbanism we need to question is, actually, we talk a lot about ethics of design, but we rarely talk about ethics of not to design. So this passion to design everything, to solve all the problems with design, is one of the problems that we have in our architecture and urban world. We need to stop designing. We need to know the restrictions that we have, and we need to stop intervening too much with the planet and with the life of humans, because design, in a way that we are doing it today, in a way that we are educated to do that, it's a very mechanistic approach. Even the language that we are using, even the drawings that we are producing, they are all industrial, very mechanistic way of approaching to planet, to life, to society, and to all the problems that we have. But we know that this mechanistic approach created loads of headaches in the past centuries to us and to the planet. So we need to stop this kind of thinking and using this kind of approaches and this kind of languages and this concepts. And we need to move towards organic thinking, to accepting that we are part of nature, and to just continue being part of nature. So one of the examples that I just wanted to highlight here is part of one of my new articles about the history of Manhattan. So what I tried to understand in this article was how before the arrival of humans in the island of Manhattan, how beavers were building their dams and they becoming part of the ecosystem of that island. So I just very briefly, if I talk about it, was, you know, these dams were permeable, so the water were passing, and these dams were used as a kind of filter. So all the topsoil from the up mountains of upstate New York were filtered here because they were washed by the rain and carried by this water. So basically this structure were used to accumulate the topsoil in the island. And after a while, for many reasons, these beaver were leaving this area and were going and creating their dams in some other areas. And this lands remain with topsoil and the best biodiversity and microbiome and organic materials. And accordingly, the forests were flourishing from here. So many of the ecologists, they suggest that the reason that beavers are in a forest area is because of forest, but also the reason that forest is there is because of beavers. So beavers and forest are essential parts of each other. The same thing I could understand from the practices of Lenape indigenous people who were settled in Manhattan, and the way that they were creating their habitats for a very temporal area, 15 to 20 years. And that was also a practice to flourish biodiversity in Manhattan. So I will not go to the detail because the time is almost over. So what I want to just maybe finish my talk with is, yes, Dr. Yasser Mahgoub, can you please turn off your mic? Yeah, sorry for the interruption. The last slide that I want just to emphasize on it is, instead of continuously and constantly trying to design the world and mechanistically fix it, fix ourselves, fix our societies, fix our world, what we need to do, we need to understand the pattern of life again as indigenous people really understood it in our history, in our very long history. At the end, if we are living 300,000 years on this planet, only the past 10,000 years of it, we were an agrarian society or settled society. So we have a 290,000 years of indigenous life on this planet, which for some of us is still discontinued. This understanding and this lifestyle and this way of settling on this planet. So what we need to do, we need to re-understand it, recognize its importance, and try to heal ourselves, our mindset, our societies, and our approach to the planet by just trying to re-indigenize ourselves on this planet. And in this regards, I'm afraid that architecture and urbanism cannot be really that much helpful in a way that we understood it and in a way that we are practicing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Professor Dr. Hossein Sadri. I can say that Professor Dr. dedicated his life to analyze the interrelation between ecology and people's, let's say, affects to urban spaces. He has his own institution named as Ecodemia. Sorry, I have shared the link with you. Specifically, let's say, discussing all the international conferences with different, let's say, workshops and webinars that he's each month and maybe daily trying to share his concern with the globe. We can count him as one of those highly active person who's academician, who's trying to find the interrelation between ecology and architecture and habitat studies. So thank you very much, dear Professor Dr. Hossein Sadri, for your valuable keynote speech. And sorry for interruption that happens because of those, let's say, live stream that we have. So we shall continue. There might be some question from the authors that we will leave it to the after to finish from the Malcolm Simon, and we are running out of the time. So Professor Dr. Malcolm Simon, the platform is yours. We have time 10 minutes, so you may deliver your speech if you would like to share any file. Yes, perfect.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes, thank you.
And do you see my title slide, Designing a Better World Together?
Not yet properly.
Let's see.
Maybe if you do it full screen, we shall see your.
Let's see. Can you?
Yes,
can
perfect.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Well, I would like to thank my fellow keynote speakers. Those were 3 terrific speeches, and I am honored to present my work in your company. So I'm going to speak now about a topic in architectural education. Designing a Better World Together is about a global inter-university partnership addressing the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. So I am part of a team, including myself at the University of Maryland, my colleague Shema Hamid Hussein at Al Nahrain University in Baghdad, both of us professors of architecture, and Gregory Weaver, a scholar of international education. So together, we work on this intersection between architectural education and the internationalization of student experiences. So I'm going to begin by speaking about the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It proclaims that children and young women and men are critical agents of change and will find in the new goals a platform to channel their infinite capacities for activism into the creation of a better world. So that's the inspiration for our project. There are 17 goals that are intended to transform our world. So as my colleagues have told us, the current pandemic and advancing climate change force us to understand that we live in an interconnected global society. So the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals offer us a common agenda for schools of architecture around the world to tackle society's grand challenges. When we adopt these Sustainable Development Goals in our architectural design studios, we prepare students to become change agents capable of designing a better world. I'm going to introduce, as a case study, the Bridging the Gap studio that I teach together with my colleague in Baghdad. It's a virtual studio that's a model for a global inter-university partnership that leverages students' shared discipline of architecture to address society's big challenges in an international context, incorporating multiple cultural perspectives with the UN 2030 SDGs as a shared agenda. So the concept here is that architecture students from Iraq design a project in the United States, and architecture students from the US design a project in Iraq. So together we have a global classroom. In the current pandemic situation, we all expect to be teaching online, but back when our collaboration began, it was a somewhat revolutionary idea that we would use virtual means to bring together students from across the world. So we began in a post-conflict situation with the question, how do we turn former enemies into colleagues? I'll just give you a brief timeline. In 2003, the US invaded Iraq. The war officially ended in 2011. And in 2016, just 5 years later, we began our Bridging the Gap studio with the intention to build peace between Iraqi and US students. So how do we bridge this gap? We use our shared professional culture. And here you see on the left, the group in Baghdad. You see on the right, the group in Washington, DC, engaging in parallel design activities. Here, intercultural collaboration is essential to success, as the Iraqi students depend upon the US students to inform them about the site they're designing for in the capital city of the United States. And the US students depend on their counterparts in Baghdad to inform them about the sites that they can't see and experience firsthand in the capital city of Iraq. So here are Google Earth views of the sites that we've been designing for over the last couple of years. On the top, you see the Tigris River in Baghdad, and students are attempting to bridge the gap of the river to knit two districts together. In the image on the bottom, you see the Anacostia River in Washington, DC, and here the Iraqi students are trying to knit together the two districts across the river. And as the students dig into the work, they discover that these two sites, while in very different cities across the globe, actually share many of the same design challenges. So here are our students. They are engaging in their site visits, gathering information, getting ready to share site information with one another. Part of sharing a professional culture, even though we didn't share a language, although I have to say that the Iraqi students speak very good English, so it's not a big problem. But most importantly, we use the shared language of architecture to communicate and to bridge the gap and to help students understand that we are more similar than we are different. So here are some examples of the students' analysis of the Baghdad and Washington, DC sites. We share projects, so we take the same approach to designing for one another's cities. So here, tactical urbanism offers a quick way to gain insights into the issues of the capital cities that we're designing for. Here, these are some of the most recent urban design projects. On the left, you see a design proposal for reinvigorating the riverfront with a transit hub that is intended to build social and ecological health of the district. And on the right, you see a similar approach to a site in Washington, DC, reinvigorating the waterfront. So our theoretical framework for this international partnership then is dependent upon the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we aim to build students' capacity to contribute to a more sustainable future for our shared planet. And following the past speaker, I should probably say a more regenerative future. So we address 5 of the SDGs in particular, and I will take you through those in a moment. And then we also draw upon post-human theory. We like to say that we are in this together, but we are not one and the same. So this is the ideal that we strive for. Rather than engaging in the investigation of one another's contexts and cultures from an anthropological framework of otherness, reinforced by the fact that our nations have recently been at war, we aspire to a sense that we are all citizens of our planet and all equally invested in our shared future. So now to the SDGs. So goal 4 is quality education. So here, the current political and public health situation makes international educational exchange impossible. And in particular, Iraqi architectural education suffers from isolation. So we believe that the Bridging the Gap studio improves both Iraqi and US architectural education. For the Iraqi students, our partnership elevates their education to an international standard. And for all of the students, it builds their capacity for global practice. And we're very proud to have received some important recognition on an international stage, including the Architect Magazine Studio Prize in 2019. And we have been funded both by the University of Maryland and by a couple of grants from IREX. So these 2 grants are intended to improve education, elevating the ability of Iraqi faculty to design their curricula and deliver instruction, focusing both on graphic communication and the development of a new Master of Sustainable Urban Design curriculum. Goal 8 is concerned with decent work and economic growth. This is tremendously important for Iraq, where young people are protesting in the streets, demanding job opportunities. So this partnership enables the Iraqi students to experience working in a global way and gives them the capability to obtain job opportunities in architecture firms and educational institutions around the country. And we've been fortunate to be able to partner with a multinational design firm, Gensler, who has offered internships to bring together the US and Iraqi students in their office and gives them an opportunity to engage in practice there. Next is goal 11, focusing on making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So our studio projects focus on urban redevelopment strategies, preparing students for professional work, addressing the design of sustainable cities and communities. The American students in particular bring a perspective of diversity, equity, and inclusion to the design of public space. The studio is important for the Iraqi students because it prepares them to take on rebuilding their cities after years of disinvestment and destruction. And in the face of global climate change, the Americans learn valuable lessons about urban development from the Iraqis, whose architecture and rhythms of life have developed in response to extreme summer heat. Goal 16 is about peace, justice, and strong institutions. So here, we believe that we're promoting global peace by building relationships that bridge geography and culture through international collaboration. So we think about this as one-on-one diplomacy. And through designing for each other's cities, the Iraqi and American students become invested in the futures of one another's countries. And we believe that as we work together to achieve shared goals, the students build relationships that can transform otherness into shared humanity. And finally, goal 17 is building partnerships for these goals. So here we consider our collaborative studio to be a global partnership focused on sustainable urban development. We build architecture students' capacity for collaboration with counterparts in other countries and cultures. We take young people from cultures recently in conflict, and we give them common cause, the need to redevelop the cities and communities of their countries for a sustainable future. So we've been building this global partnership over the past 6 years, with graduates of the program staying connected and contributing their expertise to the current students, both in person and through a growing Facebook group. And so when new students enroll in this studio course, they discover that they're actually joining an ongoing global partnership. So in conclusion, I would like to leave you with these two ideas. One is that the UN 2030 SDGs offer a shared agenda for architectural design studios around the world to tackle the grand challenges of a globally interconnected planet. And second, that virtual global studios offer a model for teaching architecture students to design a better world together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Professor Dr. Maldum Simonia. The way, actually, the theme of this conference have been getting from your idea of designing a better world together. Thank you to bringing the idea to us, and the way that you look to, let's say, Iraqi, let's say, cities to take the idea in your methodological and pedagogical approach that you use in your design studio was much more appreciated. And now I'm going to give the platform to Professor Dr. Madrigal to launch, to start the roundtable discussion. Professor Dr. Madrigal, I'm really sorry that I take the platform from you. It is your platform. I'm really sorry for that.
No problems at all. Thank you very much, and congratulations to all the keynote speakers. I would like to highlight only two elements for an eventual provocation or maybe reminders about what I thought would be the most important things looking for a common spirit, as usually we try to do in this kind of event. I will take the sentence, the reference used by Professor Simon from Braidotti 2017, which is very clear in my opinion. It's we are in this together, but we are not one and the same. And it's entirely right. I totally agree with that. And probably this is the reason why the different perspectives of all the keynote speakers at the end, in my opinion, are focused on one specific point, which is the need of implementing a participatory character for all the acts referred to the planet, to the human relations, and everything in the end, even the pedagogic community, as it was highlighted by Professor Simon in the last. So I would like to know opinions about that or even if you have, any of you, some specific question for some of our dear friends and the speaker. I will thank you very much to give the floor for anyone, if anyone is wanting to go ahead with that. Any interventions? It's true that we are together, exactly, and at the same time, we are not one and the same. But I would like to understand, what do you think about especially if we are together, this is the first point, and secondly, if we are so different, or which is your reactions when we are listening this kind of comment. Well, if not, I will go directly to some questions. For example, to Dr. Hossein Sadri. I would like to comment this sentence from King Stanley Robinson, to try to empty half of the earth and so on. Are these attitudes just justifying what exactly, in order to avoid confusion? Because I was a bit surprised by the idea of, okay, empty the half of the planet from humans. And the second part was what to do with these humans. Can you please enlighten us, please, Hossein?
Thank you. It's a very good question, because it needs really clarification. So this is not exactly from humans, but from humans degrading activities. And so it is something that we usually tell it as no-take zones. So parts of the planet that is reserved for only the wildlife reconstruction and restoration, and the human activities are just pushed away from it. In the indigenous practices, so in all the islands that indigenous people are settled, usually they have an area that's called sacred area. So in the regular daily life, they never visit that area. Even visiting that area is very ceremonial. So they leave it as it is for the wildlife and for the nature. The way that we are now in these years, the way that we are organizing the legal status of the lands as kind of natural preservation areas is not enough. So their amount in the planet is not enough. So if we want a planet that can restore itself, can continue its life, can regenerate itself, we need to define areas on the planet. And these areas are mainly around rivers, in lakes, wetland areas. So ecologically very important fields, forests, that needs to be human activities, human degenerating activities needs to be well controlled and limited. So the reason that I put this article there, just to emphasize that we need to know our limits. The way that we are now approaching, that we can do whatever we want, and this is not really correct. So we need to know that where we need to stop.
Thank you very much, Professor Sadri. Any other interventions regarding this topic? If not, I would like to go ahead with two other questions. It's obvious, and we have been talking today about the post-pandemic era, and especially for the effects, probably some of them very positives, regarding the pandemic era. And it's obvious that so many things have been changing in the last month. As an example, it's the improvement of this kind of virtual actions in the circuits of teaching and learning, with an incredible improvement of even where we have discovered how close we are, instead of basing all our actions on a face-to-face activities. And this is clear in the last intervention from Professor Simon. And it's true that we are maybe discovering these things, and we are able even to discover that for having 2-3 ideas, we don't need one hour of lecture, but only 30 minutes are more than enough. And it's when we have paid attention to the needs of even changing our chips in order to teach in a more effective way. But in this case, I would like to go to the concept of the smart citizenship by Dr. Igor, where it was an interesting aspect, which in the end, networks are one important factor. We have heard from Professor Chowdhury that I don't know which percentage, probably more or less 20% of the plastic production or the majority of plastic production in the planet is in the hands of 20 companies, which is an incredible number. But probably a majority of the social networks where the participatory actions are better reflected probably are in the hands of 2 or 3 companies. What's your opinion about that? Please, Professor Igor Calzada.
Thank you very much, Dr. Madrigal. I think it's a very pertinent question. I was wondering, amidst this conference on architecture and urbanism, over the last 10 years, I've been always exchanging with architects, with technical and sometimes not technical, but architects. And my impression is, and I'm really glad that to hear your question, because sometimes I think that we are bypassing, ignoring what is not physical at all. And I think it's worth saying, I think that you have made a really, let's say, positive and optimistic approach to the post-pandemic. I really think that I agree with you. I think that there are some side effects that we should just take on board positively, because I think that at the moment we are having, look at that, a really interesting conversation from different people around the world. But having said that, I think that when we are, what we need to focus is that data is not just oil. It's not that the new oil, as many people have said. Data should be shared always if this is based on trust. And it's exactly at the moment, data is just driven not just only economies, but also democracies. So maybe we are not seeing the side effects of this post-pandemic, as you are rightly saying, when just 2, 3, or even 4 as maximum companies, and we are now which are the suspicious companies, they are dealing with the whole economy of many continents, as you are saying. And this is very much affected the elections and democracy as such. So it's not, and the position here, I think, and this is my personal position and position in the book, is not how to revert and how to, because Amazon, for example, Amazon is a huge innovative company. The point is that how are we, let's say, dealing with this kind of hegemonic power of Amazon to rearrange all the local economies? And then at the same time, we are talking about automotion, and we are talking about the AI, and we are talking about new jobs. I mean, we cannot really reshuffle the economies, the post-pandemic economies based on foundational economy without paying attention to the way in which data is governed at the local level. And this is why I'm saying, when you are asking about how we are going to be in the same boat together, I think that relies on interdependence. My question here would be, remembering the very good author, how mayors would rule the world, Benjamin Barber. Are we able to really connect cities from Iraq to US, as the previous speaker mentioned, from many cities in Europe and in Asia, taking into account that we need to really think critically about data governance for restructuring our economies, our institutions. And of course, this is going to have a direct effect in sustainability. I think we are paying attention to the outcome, but we are not realizing that data economy and digital economy is changing everything. So as long as we are not going to see that, and we are going to reshuffle the equation of local economies, I think we are not going to have the right outcome. That would be my long answer to your very interesting question, by the way.
Thank you very much. I will ask all of you for any extra comments. If they are not arriving, I can understand because we have a long first session. I would like Professor Hurash maybe to invite for a well-announced break, and to come back here probably in 22 minutes. Is this right or not?
Exactly, dear Professor Dr. Madrigal. I think we shall close the keynote speech part, and I would like to thank all the keynotes, and sorry for the lack of time that there might be some authors, I can see that they are asking some questions. I will collect the questions, and in case if it's needed, I will share with the keynotes for the further discussion. We shall close the opening ceremony and keynote speech part. We will have exactly, if we start at 12, right now it is exactly 15 minutes or 20 minutes, we will start the session, discussion with the authors and their presentation. But please consider that there are three sessions that you are going to join. Before that, Professor Dr. Madrigal will have his own introduction to the sessions if he is available, and after that, after finishing with Professor Dr. Madrigal's speech, we will divide it into three main parts of session B, session A, and session C. Session C is Turkish session, so anyone who would like to join the Turkish session will just needs to press this button, and then session C we will continue with this Zoom link, and session A will continue with the same link that we have, or you just needs to click that button here. So dear valuable authors, we shall meet within 18 minutes to launch our, let's say, discussion part with the authors. Thank you very much indeed. It was indeed valuable part of keynote speech. 2 hours of fully loaded information with high quality scholars. I really appreciate that. And thank you very much for all our valuable keynote speakers. Dear Professor Dr. Ihab El-Ziyadi, and Igor Kalatsa, Professor Dr. Hussein Sati, Dr. Islam Al-Ghunaymi, Dr. Hussam Hussein, Dr. Mikam, and Professor Dr. Haidar and Milika, and our protocols. Thank you all, and looking forward to see you within 15 minutes exactly. So take care of yourself, stay safe. Let's see each other within 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.